So Brandon's books dealt with sort of solo misfits, and the two that I chose have duos of misfits that were unexpectedly and very unwillingly thrown together. And it's through these unlikely partnerships that all four characters in my book sort of figure out what's important to them in their life and who they really are. So the first book that I chose is the first in the Bartimaeus trilogy by Jonathan Stroud, and it's called The Amulet of Samarkand. It takes place in sort of this alternate version of reality where magic is power. So great kings and emperors and politicians, they've all been magicians in this version of reality, so or they've had magicians at their disposal. So the two misfits that we look at in this book, that are also our two narrators, they alternate telling this story, are Nathaniel, who's a young boy, he's an apprentice magician, and his genie, Bartimaeus. So Nathaniel is 11 years old, and he's been apprenticed to an older magician. He's kind of out of touch. He doesn't have a lot of power either magically or politically, although his rank as a magician gives him street cred. You know, he's with the elite, so he gets to hang out with the other magicians and go to gatherings and stuff. And he doesn't do it very often, but when he does, Nathaniel gets exposed to other magicians and their apprentices and sees their relationships and their dynamics and comes to realize that he's not in a good situation. He's being repressed and oppressed. He's not being taught to the level of his peers. He's being treated more as a servant than a student, and he really begins to resent this. He feels underutilized, and I mean, he's 11. He's going through normal life changes as well as trying to learn all these powers. So he becomes resentful, and he takes it upon himself to steal books from his master, to learn things on his own, and he goes above and beyond what would normally be considered within the scope of his age group and summons the genie Bartimaeus. Bartimaeus is a very powerful genie, and he will tell you all about his great exploits, and through his chapters what I love the most is that he uses footnotes, and they're very sarcastic and very snide, and he is informing you of all the great things that he has done and how wonderful he is and how the world works. But he's a very funny narrator, and it's actually a great dynamic to watch unfold. Their team is Nathaniel has power over Bartimaeus because he is the master, and Bartimaeus, the way magic works, is these spirits do all the heavy lifting basically, and Bartimaeus does his best to antagonize Nathaniel. And Bartimaeus also has a little bit of power over Nathaniel because, as you might know from some other books about magic, knowing the true name of something gives you power over it, and Bartimaeus knows Nathaniel's true name. So there is a power struggle going on between these two, and it's very funny and antagonistic. But while they're playing these games and doing Nathaniel's more trivial plots, he's got some revenge schemes that only an 11-year-old would have, they kind of find themselves entangled in this bigger political mess. The Prime Minister is not who he seems. They don't know who to trust in the government, and there's the common people who do not have magic, but for the first time in history are developing a resistance to it, and they're uprising. So not only is Nathaniel trying to figure out who's good and who's evil and what constitutes good and evil and who his own identity is, he's now trying to help form the identity of his nation. So it's a really, really exciting, funny, interesting read. And my other book is a graphic novel. It's called Anya's Ghost, and it's written by Vera Brosgol. And I want to show you this because I love her style. It's very bold lines, high contrast, very silly, very expressive, and it's really a joy to read. So the main character in this story, Anya, she emigrated to America from Russia when she was a small child, just like the author Vera did, so she's writing from a place that she knows. Anya's mother has managed to scrape money together to send Anya to a lower-end private school, but it's still a private school, so that's what matters. And where Anya is one of only 2 Russian students, and ever since she has moved to the States, she has tried her best to blend in and to lose the accent and to dress right and become just a face in the crowd, and that's what she has managed to do. So she's, like many other high school teens, sort of living in this bubble of ambivalence in high school. Until one day when she is skipping class, she wanders through a park and falls into a hole, and she doesn't injure herself too seriously, but she is trapped and no one knows where she is, her only company being a skeleton, and the ghost that owns that skeleton. So there's a ghost of a young girl named Emily who tries to talk to Anya, and Anya will have nothing to do with this ghost and this ghost's problems, and she just wants out of this hole. So a few days later, Anya is rescued, and imagine her delight when she finds out that this ghost has followed her home. And the ghost girl, Emily, kind of inserts herself into Anya's life, and Anya eventually gives up, and they become friends. Anya only has one other friend, and they're not getting along so well right now, so it's just Anya and Emily. And Emily helps Anya cheat on tests in school, and Anya tells Emily she's going to help her solve her murder, which is great. And Emily turns out to be really good at helping Anya get noticed by the popular kids that she likes and to get invited to parties. But as Anya sort of comes out into the, makes herself known and gets to find out more about her classmates and about Emily, she finds there's a lot of stuff about them that she really doesn't like and doesn't agree with, and Emily's getting a little bit scary, and Emily has not been telling Anya some things. So Anya ends up in a fight to save her family's life and to understand what is important to her and what does her heritage mean to her. So this is a really cute book, and they're both good for upper middle school through high school.